All right, so these are the last section of formula that you need to be able to use in the trigonometry section. And this is when we're changing sums back into products. And so you can see there are 4 rules. This is exactly how they appear in the formula sheet. It is really generally just a matter of straight substitution and then trusting your algebra. So you can sort of see them all there. So I'll just go through a couple of examples, the sort of thing you might strike. And then in future problems, we'll start to use these in identities. So the first one is if I, as an example, just had something like sine of pi over 2 minus sine of pi over 6. Now, clearly, you could just work this out on your calculator, but we're just going to do it as an actual identity. Now, you can see here that it's sine of something minus sine of something else. So that seems to be this middle rule here. So the expansion is going to be 2 lots of cosine, and then it's the sum of those two over 2. So we've got pi over 2 plus pi over 6 all over 2 times sine of the difference all over 2. And then we just have to trust our number and our algebra skills here. So that's pi over 2 plus a 6, that's a 3/4. So that's, I'll do this in 2 steps. 4 pi over 6 all over 2 times sine, and that's a half minus, so that's 3/6 minus 1/6, that's 2/6 of pi over 2. And then we just finally simplify it. Now, if we're halving a fraction like that, we can either halve the numerator or we can double the denominator. So in this case, that would, if I halve the numerator, that would be 2 pi over 6, which is the same as 1/3 of pi. And this one over here, I'm going to halve the numerator, so that is pi over 6. Okay, so that's again, you can see it's just a fairly straightforward substitution into the formula here, and then we just do the manipulation there. Right, another one that we might have to do. Oh, something like this, I guess. We could say, let's show the following. That cosine of 30 minus cosine of 60 all over sine of 30 plus sine of 60 equals tan of 15. So again, you could show that with a calculator, but that's not what they want. So I'm just going to have a look at that left-hand side there and say, all right, I could rewrite that one. Now that is cosine of something minus cosine of something else. So that appears to be this bottom formula. So I can simplify that as negative 2 sine, and then it's the sum of them over 2. So 30 plus 60 is 90, divided by 2 is 45. And what else do we have then? Sine, and then the difference. So 30 minus 60 is negative 30, divided by 2 is negative 15. All right. So then that's the top line, which we'll do a little bit more with that in a second. And then the bottom line is sine plus sine. So then we go and find that rule, which appears to be the very top formula. And that's going to be 2 sine, and then it's the sum of them. So 30 plus 60 divided by 2. And then cosine of the difference. So 30 minus 60 is negative 30, divided by 2 is negative 15. Okay, so we'll do that right. C minus D. Yep, I think so. All right. So things to, I guess, be aware of is that we can now simplify that, because remember, we're trying to show this equals tan 15. Now we can cancel out the 2's, I guess, and the sine 45's. So they'll cancel out. Boom, boom. So we end up with negative sine negative 15 over cosine negative 15. So a couple of things. I mean, that does not look like tan, but think about your trig graphs. First of all, if I just look at cosine, remember cosine reflects in the y-axis. So cosine of negative 15 is actually the same as cosine of 15. So that is actually the same as cosine of 15 there. If we do sine of negative 15, so it goes like that, down like that, sine of negative 15 there. Now remember, this one reflects, it doesn't reflect in the y-axis. So that actually is the same as, so sine of negative 15 is actually the same as negative sine of 15, which means that that top line there, if we replace that with sine of 15, the negative here and the negative here cancel out. So it becomes positive sine of 15, which gives us, that's tan, believe it or not, tan of 15, which is what we're trying to show. Okay, so you can see there how knowledge of the trig graphs is going to be very important. And then apart from that, it really is just substituting into these formula.